Taoiseach, Israel would not be able to continue what the International Court of Justice has rightly recognised as a possible genocide, the worst possible crime anybody is capable of committing, without the favoured trade status, the political support, the arms it receives from the European Union. They simply wouldn't be able to do it. The European Union is the biggest trade partner of Israel. Germany gives them the second biggest amount of arms after the United States. It would massively impact on their ability to carry out the horror that is continuing in Gaza as we speak, which Israel shows no sign, no wish, no desire to stop this horror, this massacre, this genocide. And Ursula von der Leyen is up to her neck in this horror. Up to her neck. No matter what you say, no matter what public opinion has forced her to slightly roll back on her standing shoulder to shoulder with Israel, when all of this began, the reality is she is up to her neck in the horror. How on earth can the Irish government give her support? Can you give her support, or indeed can Fianna Fáil horse trade over Michael McGrath's position on the Commission in order to give her support? It's outrageous. It shows complete moral bankruptcy for us not to say we need to replace someone who is up to their necks in the horror that's taking place in Gaza.
Can I just say very, very, very clearly, in relation to immigration, it is a good thing. Immigration is a good thing. This country is the better as a result of people who've come here and made this country their home. Our health service, our economy, our society, our schools, our public sector, our private sector. This is a country that has benefited from migration and from immigration. I just want to say that very clearly. That is not in any way contradictory to the fact that, of course, we have to have rules around our migration system and we have to enforce those rules as well. I have a very different, as you and I will know, a very different political outlook to some of the colleagues sitting across the floor. And I have a different perspective in relation to how you take on the far right, because I actually think it is the job of centrist politicians like myself not to shirk issues. That if they are shirked, then actually it allows a vacuum to develop, and that vacuum is often exploited by the far right, who try to sow division in this country. So we may disagree on many issues, and we may disagree on how to address issues, but I certainly don't think there's any disagreement of any deputy currently present in this chamber that immigration is a good thing. And I just want to say that very clearly as Taoiseach of our country as well. Look, in relation to the French elections, don't want to predict the outcome. There is a second round. I'm conscious that second rounds and how various alliances and the likes that I'm reading about and candidates withdrawing and the likes could have a significant impact on the final outcome. But we'll obviously be very happy to comment on that once that election is concluded as well. And look, in relation to President von der Leyen, you know, you kind of get the impression that it was just Ireland who backed President von der Leyen. Can we just be clear, with the exception of the Prime Minister of Hungary and the Prime Minister of Italy, all other member states, whether they had a socialist government, as many do, or whether they had a conservative government, the Spanish Prime Minister is clearly a socialist Prime Minister. Okay, well, let's not have a debate about what is socialism, but that could be. We can have another discussion on that. But I'm just pointing out across the political spectrum represented at the European Council there was a view, and there is an important democratic point here too. We have a system in Europe around the lead candidate system, and the party Ursula von der Leyen is the lead candidate for the EPP, which did win the most seats in the European Parliament. I do think her position is misrepresented entirely on the Middle East, and it is for member states to find the courage that I believe they need to find it. Yes, I've raised with her the letter of March. That remains our position. Yes, I've raised at the European Council recognition. Yes, I've raised and changed the European conclusions in relation to the International Court of Justice, where Europe needed to be much stronger, UNRWA, and the importance of financially supporting the Palestinian Authority. And defence readiness. Allow me to come back to you maybe in the next round. Deputy Hoyce, my apologies, sir.
No, you have.
Can I? Oh, can I? Okay, sorry. My apologies, because it's an important. Sorry, I thought you were asking me to stop. Thank you, sir. I do my best to answer. But to Deputy Haughey, look, I mean, I think it's fair to say at this stage the conversations that are happening at a European level around security and defence are in the provisional and preliminary space. And what I mean by that is we've yet to see proposals tabled. So there's a lot of views, and as you can imagine, particularly from countries in Eastern Europe who are obviously much closer to the front line in terms of Russian aggression in relation to how is Europe going to deal with its security and defence. Ireland should never recuse itself from those conversations. We live in Europe, we are of Europe. Our security, our defence, the security, the defence, the well-being of this country matters to me. It's the greatest obligation of any government to keep its people safe. But obviously any discussions, as those discussions develop, we'll have two concerns. One, everything that we participate in will have to be consistent with our military neutrality. And secondly, how these initiatives are funded. Is, I think, a really important discussion, because this idea of can we change the mandate of the European Investment Bank is interesting in and of itself, but if the pot is still just the same for the European Investment Bank, well, what does that mean for the work on climate? What does that mean for the work on digital transition? So I'm happy to keep the House updated as those discussions progress.